Hey everybody, welcome to episode 163 of the Bonehead podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle. Welcome back. I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Blood Type Ben. BT, how you doing?
Hello, doing very well, thank you.
Although I suppose we should be referring to as Chorf Type at the moment, thanks to
that was good.
Chat the other day. And your victim of the night, we've got the Highlander himself, Ian Triple Power Triplo. Trips, how you doing? All right?
I'm doing fine. I have recovered from the lack of armor breaks and moving forward.
Yeah, so we are referring to the Monday Night Blood Bowl game this week, and yes, that was the softest first half I think we've had on the series. Like, it was ridiculous. Yeah, not what we were expecting, not the slobber knocker we were expecting. But I guess if you think about it, like Chorfs and Nurgle are two of the most resilient teams in Blood Bowl. Like,
Yeah.
like, even though Chorfs have got the hobgoblins, I guess like the fact that they've got the iron hard skin boys, it seriously does help, right? Trips, you're trying to power them down and nothing's touching them.
It really is a bit disheartening when you go, I finally get them down, I finally roll a decent number, and I still can't do anything.
Yeah, and it's a stun, and it's a thick skull stun. Oh, brilliant! Yeah, it's just not the game we're expecting. This week should be good though. We've got undead and gnomes coming up next week. So
yeah, not the most resilient of teams.
Undead, I would say, has the resilience edge in this one.
Yes.
When it comes to gnomes, it's like can you take out a tree? If you can take out a tree, that's it. Sorry, Trips.
Yeah.
Dodging, because we didn't see much dodging last Monday.
I don't know. I think you both dodged into the ground with a couple of pieces.
Oh yeah, well mine was just that or tentacles, right?
Yay, we got an email back. Cool. That's good. That's exciting times. Got some printing to do. Yeah, no, the championship's good. I'm impressed with the outcome. It's nice to see the Chorfs doing well. Like, they are the most recent release from Games Workshop. The newest team?
No. Are they?
Yes,
yeah.
They are 18. Yes. It's like, I've been thinking of this. Like, we
18 months ago.
Yeah, well, we're like, oh, let's which teams we want to roll over to the next championship, and it's like, well, gnomes might be good because they're still new, and I'm like, hang about. They might have been a 2023 release at this point, but yes, right. Let's talk about some bits. We are going to touch on a couple of bits of Blood Bowl news, Blood Bowl tangential news, but other than that, BT, what are we talking about on 163?
We're going to be talking about Slan. Pretty spicy one. We're going to be talking about if they belong or don't belong in the game, really.
Should they be banned? Is it time for the banhammer or the SLANNHAMMER? This episode is in memory of Milton, because he does love Slan, and he's got a very lovely brush type painted team. And yeah, no Milton today. I kind of run out of rumours to make. You know what they say: the more rumours you create, eventually you come around to being accurate. Not saying we haven't been accurate.
He's just dead.
Yeah,
that works.
We've done a trade deal with everyone else, but the Isle of Wight is still excluded from all trade deals.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. Yeah, no tariffs got Milton. Yeah, we'll have to work our way through that one. So on any given day, it could be very, very different. But yes, right. I am going to stop this really quickly, check the audio, and then we'll carry on. Okay, so Blood Bowl news. LOL. Trips, what did you say the last Blood Bowl news was?
The last genuine bit of Blood Bowl news was Jeremiah Cool back in October of last year.
Oh my God.
It's been...
Is that model out?
I think he came out.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
No. I think they released the art and the detail, but I'm not sure the model came out. We've had a made, but yeah, nothing else, I don't think.
Oh no, it is a model. It is a model. It's just the model looks like art, doesn't it? So which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Did he ever come out?
It looks like arse or looks like art?
No, it looks like art. It's in the same comic booky style.
Right, yeah.
Jeremiah.
Oh, that's quite harsh. So it doesn't look that bad.
Jeremiah Cool is a model that you can buy.
Yeah. Okay.
And currently is not sold out. Look at that. You can add it to the cart and everything. It's about one of the only things in Blood Bowl you can get. Anyway, so yeah, no Blood Bowl news at the moment. Obviously, the what did you guys think of the whole preview thing from Games Workshop, like being brewed up and then being absolutely outright cancelled because of the brutal leaks? Like, I personally feel quite bad for the social media team if this wasn't them doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I don't think it was. There was no way. I do feel bad for them as well, which is kind of crazy to think about because we don't often do that with GW. But yeah, it can't be easy. Like the amount of effort people probably put into planning those.
Yeah, especially in America as well. Like, so they were planning a live preview in America at a really big convention. Like, I can't think of much more that like isn't like that's like really exciting. I can imagine that. Like, you've got a whole bunch of people there playing tournaments who just love the product, and then you're gonna like, boom, we're gonna show off this brand new edition of a game that everybody loves, and then some dude just robs a couple of boxes and takes a photo in his car and slaps it on Reddit, and everything is undone.
Is that what it was then? Did someone steal it?
Well, I don't think they bought it. So I mean, I am just making the assumption that they cannot buy things that aren't out for sale. But maybe they, I don't know, could be like they do the social media stuff, don't they? In fact, I have seen a couple of like the influencers with early access to some of the Saturnine stuff. So I think I have. I'm pretty sure I have. So it is possible that was that someone had got a box copy or had stolen a copy or something like that, but they showed it off. And anyway, they've cancelled that. And on the plus side, it means we don't have to wait up till 2 a.m. in the morning to find out that it's not Blood Bowl, right? Trips, like there's a benefit there.
Yeah, the benefit of it going from a in-person, it could be anything, to a specific is at least we know specifically what it is. So so that's good for everyone who's interested, and sad for everyone who was thinking that Blood Bowl was ever going to get its news.
We've had a lot of good stuff from Blood Bowl, but yeah, it would be cool. I like the Horus Heresy stuff, and the Saturnine stuff that they've shown off is very cool, but it is also, it's just more Space Marines, which is, you know, totally fine if you like your Space Marines, but yeah, I don't know how many more different variations of Space Marines they're going to be able to do. Right, but we have got Skulls coming up though on Thursday at 5 p.m. We've got the Skulls, which is the Warhammer video game, like mini E3 just for Games Workshop stuff. Total War Warhammer, Blood Bowl 3, we'll come back to that. Space Marine 2, Warp Forge the card game, Battle Sector, Dark Tide, Tacticus, the Raid Shadow Legends of Warhammer, and Rogue Trader. But Trips, you were saying what were you saying about a game that Ben and I thought would been out for a couple of years?
Yeah, the Orc Speed Freaks game, which I think I paid a beta of after a Warhammer Skulls event previously. I've seen it's being picked up by, I think it's Frontier developers. And they were like, "Oh, find out more news in Speed Freaks later this week." I was like, that's someone who hasn't realised that the preview is meant to have the information in as opposed to the spoiler for the preview.
I mean, Speed Freaks, I guess that's quite cool. The biggest rumor, the one that I'm quite intrigued by, but I don't know if it actually holds any salt, is a Total War Warhammer 40k. That could be a big secret splash release. I think it's wish listed, right?
Yeah, that's a huge deal if that's the case. Like, Creative Assembly aren't a small studio. Like, a lot of these are generally indies.
Yeah,
but they have got Total War up in this image here, so could be.
It's difficult in Total War, like actual Total War as well for Warhammer, because like Cathay is now a thing, so they're kind of like boxed into like they made Cathay, they explored the new realm, and now it's official. Kislev has always been sort of semi-official, so they're kind of, there's not a huge amount of actual design space for Total War Warhammer, unless they go into like Estalia and Tilia and stuff. But that's just a different variant of the Empire, really. Like, so I don't know where they're going to go. I can't see that being a big splash release with something really spectacular.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, they it's not been the first, like, sorry, I'll reset. It's not the first time a game hasn't just made something new, though, because like Dawn of War introduced a whole new chapter, and that kind of became official. And
Yes.
like Battlefleet Gothic kind of
slightly
expanded
darker
more.
red Space Marines.
Yeah, true, like Blood Angels with a different color shoulder. But yeah, it was. Yeah, sorry, I was going to say the Battlefleet Gothic games, they expanded quite a lot in the realm. Like, I think they introduced things like, or not introduced, but actually showed for the first time some factions and races, right? Like a lot of the tower adjacent things, like the Demiurge, I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Demiurge.
Some of these fleets, right?
Demiurge were actually in Battlefleet Gothic miniature form in the 2000s.
Oh, were they? Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I thought they were new lead to that game. Okay.
They may have made extra ships because the Demiurge was like they landed and they were hinted to be like what squats had become, and then they just brought Votan back and everyone's like, okay, so who are these big monobrowed dwarves then? And then Games Workshop's like, no, we just don't talk about them.
Yeah.
Which I kind of respect.
Right, okay. Yeah, so I think I just wouldn't put it past them maybe bring something a little bit new. But
I would be well up for that, and I think that's the right place to do it. So, Blood Bowl 3. I know we had a chat a little bit after the stream on Monday, but what's your guesses for the Blood Bowl 3 announcement this week?
Well, it's going to be the next season, so therefore it'll be a team. So
you would imagine, right?
I wouldn't get any more excited than that because just getting a new team in will be quite good.
Yeah,
I'm at the stage now where I think it'll just be a new team. I said on Monday, I think it'll be ogres. I think it was quite interesting seeing some chat through it. We're at the stage where nearly all of the teams that they need to put in will mean putting in some new rules that aren't in there.
Yeah.
So that's going to make it fun and spicy for post-patch updates.
Your biggest pick, I think, though, Trips, was I think you may have said that because they've got 4-star players, it leans more towards a stunty team, and that does fit with ogres because like you bang on the money. Like gnomes would need new rules, chorfs would need new rules, vampires would need new rules. There's Khorne and there's ogres that don't need any rules except for potentially riotous rookies. And then you've got snotlings, which I don't think snotlings have got any specifically just snotling rules, but they do have also they will desperately need riotous rookies. We might see. I don't know. I don't think Skitter's in the game yet, is he?
Don't think so, but yeah, I haven't played it for a while, to be honest. So
no, same here. If it is ogres, I love ogres, but they are the ones I'm probably the least interested in playing on Blood Bowl 3. If they drop one of the other,
I can't imagine them shaking up the meta by landing
ogres.
Yeah.
No, not really. Although, if they've got like, if you can take forever to brew them up, you could end up with some big old pro ogre block shenanigans potentially, but still it's not, like you said, Ben, not meta warping. Although they're going to be introducing redraft rules, which is quite cool. I'm not sure whether that's going to be for like main leagues or whether it's just your leagues, but that I think is going to help.
They've been working on the Eternal Seasons and the redrafting and the rules, so it's good to see the rules and the league expansion options coming out and detail through. And I think it's definitely got to the stage where those who like playing on Blood Bowl 3, it is filled out and it is much more of a stable game with options of ways to play it.
Yeah.
The AI's even had a slight update, and it is not like a 2-year-old is probably upgraded to like a 4.5 to 6-year-old, depending on. And I think one of the best updates that has come in that it doesn't just eat the timer. There's nothing worse than watching the AI be stupid.
That was, yes, I'd forgotten about that. That was rubbish. There's nothing worse than playing a game of Blood Bowl and having a 4-minute clock and just the first 3 minutes just be your opponent just sitting there looking at the board and then rushing at the end of your turn to do everything and then carrying on when the timer runs out.
Well, depends. It's me, isn't it, Trips?
They go, oh my god, how do I pass? How do I pass? That was quality. Right, the only thing that would get me really, really, really buzzed if they brought in 7s for Blood Bowl 3. Imagine that. Like, imagine that. Imagine the amount of games you could get in for 7s. And surely the only thing they really need to change is the actual size of the pitch, which, you know, that would be like just block out all the other squares, job done, 7s. I know it's never going to be the case, but that would just be phenomenally cool. Imagine getting a game of Blood Bowl in like 20 minutes.
You say that, but you got to remember how much it's taken to get the kickoff rules and the kickoff tables right in Blood Bowl 3.
Oh,
So
yeah.
can you change that in detail? I mean, it's not having a line of scrimmage. Oh, it's a big chaos.
It's just mad. It's the best way to play Blood Bowl, and and it's never represented on a digital version. I just think it would be such a perfect game. Like, you know, everybody loves games that you can play in 20, 25 minutes. You know, even on Blood Bowl 3, like, all right, a game will take you like 45 minutes on Blood Bowl 3, or maybe an hour. But, you know, imagine that. Imagine them just brewing up. I think they'd just get a lot of play. But, hey, I don't work for them, so I don't know what they're doing. But, yeah.
It is worth pointing out for anyone who is into any Warhammer games or anything like that, the Skulls event will also kick off sales on just about every digital platform for all Warhammer related games. So if you are looking to pick something up or interested in getting into something, it is worth popping into the articles afterwards, and you'll probably find everything a little bit off. Even Space Marine 2, I would imagine, will have a bit of a discount.
You are correct. As Warhammer Skulls veterans will know, this event also covers a whole week of sales, freebies, and DLC across a wide range of platforms. So yeah, bang on the money. Could be really cool. And it'll be kicking off at 5 o'clock on Thursday. So this podcast will come out on Friday to the Patreon, Saturday to everybody else. So who knows? Who knows if we were right expecting the Ogre team? But yes. Anyway, talking of teams, we're going to be talking about Slan today. And I can't remember where this has come from, because it's one of those things I wrote down as a podcast idea a little while ago. And we finally got time to look at it. So it's not just to troll Milton. But we're going to bring up the Slan roster first. So if you go into teams I've got the tour play roster up here because I like tour play. And if you go from the official box into the unofficial box, you've got a whole list of teams there. Vampire, the old roster. Amazons, the old roster. Chaos Dwarves, the old roster. Norse, the old roster. Stunty Lizardmen, Stunty Black Orcs, Stunty Underworld, the old Demons of Khorne roster. And then you've got Slan. So I am personally a massive fan of the Slan team because it allows you to play a game of Blood Bowl with a skill set that is very different. Like we always said this, right? You had Demons of Chaos, which were all about frenzy. Ben, I would say that the Khorne roster has done a good job replacing that one.
Yeah, it's a bit more interesting. That's for sure.
And then we had Bretonnians back in the day, which was one of the other NAF teams, and then that's basically been replaced by nobility trips, right?
Basically, yeah. Although there's always the thrower controversy from the Bretonnians going forward into nobility, but pretty much like for like sort of basis of a team.
Yeah, the whole fend, stand firm, kind of wrestle stuff. Although I think the nobility roster is a bit more exciting, having the ogre in there as well. Just adds a little bit of spice. And then there was Slan. So these three were NAF recommended teams. And Slan is a Space Frog roster, but actually saw some play in Blood Bowl 2, right? It was the Kislev team. So I think Demons of Khorne were in Blood Bowl 1. Kislev, which were Russian circus Kislev guys replacing Space Frogs, were in Blood Bowl 2. Which allowed for a good bit of gameplay, even if it was a very questionable kind of reskin. I don't know about you, BT, but I was never really fussed by the Kislev reskin. I thought that was weird.
Weird. Yeah, it was a bit odd.
Very weird. I think they could have done many other things. But I mean, elves would have been fun. You know, whatever. But they didn't do that. But the Slan team is still rocking around. But we've got this situation. This is what brought up this question: is if you go to a Blood Bowl tournament, if you get into Blood Bowl, you kind of starting point is Games Workshop, who make Blood Bowl. You kind of get the rules, get what Blood Bowl is, and then you go and find all the significantly more interesting like third-party teams and all this kind of stuff. And you're probably going to start going to a league or start going to a tournament. At which point, I think is probably when you start seeing all the third-party stuff. But then you go to a tournament, you play down, you've got all your teams, you've got all your stuff, and then you sit across from a bloke who's running Slan. And you're like, what the heck is this? Where is this special rule thing? Like, what is this team? And I guess this is what brought the question up, is we've got a team that's in Blood Bowl core that is available for most tournaments, but is the only thing left that is unofficial. So I thought it would be good for us to have a bit of a chat about whether or not Slan are essentially good for Games Workshop. And I thought a fun way to do this would be to do what we did previously, which was assign roles. So
I'm so worried about this.
Let me get the wheel of names up, because I think we'll do this. Right. Yes. All right. You can have all my cookies, because I don't care. Right. We'll have Chorftithe. We'll have Trips. And we'll have Ben. Old Ben. And
Old Ben.
we will take a arbitrator. We will take a pro and a negative side. All right, so the arbitrator is going to be...
What does the arbitrator have to do, by the way?
Just not take a side. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, like
It's going to be... Oh, I thought that was going all the way around to me. Trips, you are going to be the arbitrator, so you need to keep us on point, basically, which is a very appropriate thing if I'm now involved in this conversation. And Pro Slan. Here we go. Spin, spin, spin. Oh, fantastic.
Stop.
It is Chorfy T.
Thank God for that. Okay.
All right. Brushtithe, you are Pro Slan, and I am going to be filling the role of not Pro Slan, which, yeah.
I don't mean to say I'm biased in this discussion, but I'm glad it lent on that.
Yeah, I think so. All right, then, chaps. I'm going to get rid of that because it's just cheering at me in the background. Congratulations for being a winner of the Spinny of Names. All right, so let's talk Slan. Trips, would you say a good place to start would be to kind of get a view on why Ben thinks Slan is good?
I was going to say, well, let's start with sort of the opening presentation of why Slan should be in the game, and for that we will go to our now Slan fan of the most, over to BT.
Come on, Frogtithe.
So I think there are big reasons for this. I think number one is that the team is unique in its design. I think it's unique in both appearance and functionality. So it's a team where you look at it and you clearly knowing you're going to get something different. And the way the team plays, without leaning on the skills of leap, very long legs, all of that, pogo stick, sorry, I should say, that is also really unique and really important. And the way the team plays opens up new challenges for both the coach playing them and the coach playing against them. And when we look at Blood Bowl as a game of each game is different, each game offers that new experience. I think when you have teams that have fundamentally different ways to play, it expands that exponentially because now you've got all of these different matchups and teams that interact with it. Another team where I think is a really good example is Vampires. I think Vampires play in a way that is very, very unique to other teams. And that when you play against that Vampire team, you then have to rewire your brains to thinking like, okay, no, I can't play like I normally do. I'm up against Vampires. And you have to get that against Slan as well. You know, you can't just cage up the ball. It's never safe. So you need to play a little bit more aggressively, maybe, or even more reserved. It's interesting. So that's why I like them in the game.
Okay, thank you. And then we'll go to the flip side of this. Why should Slan not be a Blood Bowl team?
So I think it's important that I say that I do quite like Slan, and I do like running Slan, and yeah. You all know how I feel about more teams in Blood Bowl because more teams is more better. But there are two, I think, main concerns when it comes to Slan and having them be as kind of ubiquitously available as possible. Is one, it's the barrier of entry. Like, the great thing about Blood Bowl, like BT kind of just said there, is that you've got the challenge on the pitch and everything is on the pitch. This is not a game that has a deck of stratagems and misery like 40k or anything where it's like, oh, well, actually, I've got this book from 1994 that says F you. No, we've got the same rules since 1994. And having that extra thing of being like, I don't know what this is, and I've bought everything that Games Workshop has provided me for Blood Bowl, and I've come here to play a game of Blood Bowl at a tournament, to be then presented by something that's unofficial, it can be a bit of an upset and kind of muddies the clarity of what Blood Bowl is from a kind of like what actual pure Blood Bowl is. The second bit there is a slippery slope to a land I call Bliss, but it's a slippery slope to at what point then do we stop adding unofficial teams? And quite frankly, why is Slan, of all of the unofficial teams that are well established and like Ben said, very unique in a gameplay aspect, why is Slan the only one that is kind of accepted as being, yes, fine for tournaments? Like, if we have Slan, why the heck do we not have Squigs? Like, why do we not have those other teams that just absolutely positively would add more play variants to Blood Bowl? And then you've got that kind of the contradiction of point 1 and point 2, which is barrier of entry. It's weird. We've got one fly in the ointment, and I wonder if it wouldn't be clearer to have Slan be a secret team, and then you have Blood Bowl official, and then Blood Bowl unofficial, and open up more teams for Blood Bowl. So interesting opening statement there, which both plays for and against it.
And is there anything else you would add to the barrier of entry in terms of not just the rules? What about
you're not wrong, Chips. There's no models for it, but I think is again, you know, it's not so much a slippery slope, because I think the natural progression of Blood Bowl players is I land at Games Workshop and then I expand from a miniatures point of view because I understand the rules. Like, the thing is, like, if you go, I want a different vampire team, you go, okay, I've got the vampire team, I've got the vampire rules, I Google vampire Blood Bowl teams. No one's ever gonna Google Slan Blood Bowl teams until they already know what Slan is. And how do you find out what Slan is without all of a sudden finding out what Slan is, I guess? So yeah, another barrier of entry is the same barrier of entry as High Elves at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. I would say, like, in a different way though, you've got Slan are not a thing in Warhammer, or haven't been in a long time, in the way that they're represented on the pitch. I think I'm going to end. No, I'm making your point for you. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm on one side. So
I mean, don't worry too much. It's obviously it's a point of having a conversation, but like, that's a great point as well, Ben. I'll take that and go 3-0. But yeah, I mean, as it stands, a lot of the stuff in the Secret League, the Secret Team, a lot of the stuff that's tangential fits within the Warhammer Old World rules. Now, Blood Bowl's a little different, where they took a cut, basically, of Warhammer Fantasy in the 80s and then copy and pasted it over. They literally just right-click and make a copy, and then it's developed on its own way since the 80s, although they have retcon stuff. But to that point, Cathay are coming back. Like, the Cathay are brand new, basically, I think, with the exception of maybe a few models from before any of us were born. Cathay, like, surely Games Workshop would have a Cathay team, because Cathay is present in Warhammer in the way it is, versus like Slan, who have had a really rough 20 years, where they've gone from being space frogs that can bounce around to being space wizards that really, really can't. Like, all of them only move around because of Wally.
So I'm going to drag us slightly back to Slan only, as opposed to why we can't have any other new team in Blood Bowl. So you've both talked about sort of the pros and touched on each other's cons of them. In
hands off my cons.
So
irresistible cons.
You talked about the challenging and the coaching. How do you think that works when they aren't in the rule set? So that challenge and is it just for the coach who's running them, or what about a coach who sees them on there, who turns up to their first couple of tournaments and they see some bright yellow frogs sitting on the other side of the table, and they're desperately looking through that rule book going, have I missed something?
I actually think it's quite a good way of learning the niche skills that are in the game officially. I think it can be it's a novel experience, which I think is kind of hard to come by in a game like Blood Bowl, where it's quite like Ben said, everything's on the table. So when you come up, everything, you don't have like a million codices, you don't have all these special rules, like you don't have new things that take you by surprise. So I think if you're a new coach and you suddenly see frogs, you're like, oh my god, what's that? This could be fun. Pogo stick. Oh, like the star player, that one star player, you have a whole team of them. That's crazy. And I think when you start to play a little bit like, okay, so I'm just gonna like protect my ball like I might normally, and then they send in some guard catchers and strip that ball, and then it's popped on the ground and you couldn't protect that. And then suddenly you're just like, oh, I've been taken by surprise in a fun way, I think. I don't know. I think it's a good thing.
I don't know. That kind of sounds like the description of a gotcha. Which is,
I don't think it's that much of a gotcha.
But I think you're right. Like the depth of play is why I personally think Slann are such great fun. Is because it's a very different challenge for the coach running Slann and for the coach playing against Slann. But I think the barrier to entry comes up again here, where it is because it is an unofficial team. Like it's that tangential thing of like, I guess there are going to be some coaches. And it's really difficult because I'm hoping Ben's going to talk about this related to Slan in the pro element of like the depth of desire for coaching challenges that comes when you start playing Blood Bowl at tournaments and leagues and stuff like that. You kind of do you do a league or a tournament vanilla, and then all of a sudden you're like, what else is there? Like, but that's kind of the thing that flags about Slan is there stuff that's unofficial that's just genuinely a good challenge without introducing new stuff that's potentially better for Blood Bowl? And I would say that like mixed teams would be a significantly better thing to have officialized, because they bring that brand new confluence of teams, the brand new challenges, the brand new, I've never played this stuff before, there's a new coaching challenge for me there, while still playing with actual Games Workshop rules for core Blood Bowl. The coaching challenge I love about Slan, but it is that extra step. And I guess the question is how far and how soon do we expect coaches to make that step from cool, this is Blood Bowl, what else is there?
Yeah, but I wouldn't. Oh, sorry, Ian, you.
I was going to say, following up on that, do you think that that Slan are overpowered or rule breaking for tournaments or for new players because of the skill set and the availability of the rules? So do you think that you always see a gotcha moment?
I'm going to assume I'm the Ben for this last question. We've done this all wrong. I think very much like BT just kind of said, like that never being safe, having the pogo stick, like I'm going to cage up like I normally do against every other team and have it be all of a sudden like, I didn't know that you could just 2+ bamf over my guys and have it be totally okay. Like, so I think it could be a bit of a feels bad to be like, I don't know what this is. Like, I've never come across Slan before, and now this bloke is saying that his lads can just 2+ appear in different places, and I don't know how to defend against that because it's not a thing that I've ever read about playing Blood Bowl and buying Blood Bowl. So I think that aspect genuinely could be a bit of like I'm playing against something that isn't in the game and I lost because I didn't know about it because it isn't in the game. Like I can see that happening at potentially a tournament, and that like I do get that being a potential negative. I think Ben's right though. The majority, if not all coaches, are going to go, "Oh, that was weird. Like that was just properly weird." Like this guy was running around.
Especially if you, like you say, you mentioned the coach tells you, "My guys can pogo on a 2+ into an empty square." I think that's a big part of it. That's what prevents it from being a gotcha to then a learning experience. Because you've been forewarned before the game starts. If there's just like, oh, I haven't seen this team before, what is it? What's their deal? And they say they have pogo, my guys can hop 2 squares. like watch out because they will. I think that's like a thing where you can learn from that, and it's not a gotcha at that point. That's just a
Yeah, it's fair.
development. Yeah,
That's fair. It's just that the
the gotcha is if they didn't say that I have the skill pogo stick and you've never seen the skill before. What does it do? Oh, it does this. Watch.
I wouldn't put that past some people. However, I will say that if you're a seasoned coach and you might expect your opponent to just know what Slan is, like, and there is definitely, I think, definitely a risk.
Yeah, but I think
it's unlikely.
If you are new, you would probably say, "What's the deal with this?" I think.
So do you think, BT, do you think there's a responsibility for Slan coaches to know that they are playing a different team? And then as a second part of that, how does a Slan coach become a Slan coach? Because it isn't a normal team that you can go, right, I just pick this up and I play it like every other team.
That's a quality question, Trips.
Yeah, I think I don't know if the responsibility is the right word. I think that's the case for every single team. I think if you're up against a new person and they're clearly new and they say they're new, I think asking them if they've seen it before, if they played against this before, and then explaining what the deal is, but that applies to every team. I don't think that's unique to Slan. I think it's just more likely with Slan.
Way more likely.
So I would say the responsibility is the kind of thing on all coaches, just to be like respectful and just to understand that not everyone's coming into this from the same experience level. Your second point of how do they become a Slan coach? I think that comes from what Ben said of wanting a new challenge. Or did I say that? I can't remember. One of us said that.
You started it.
Yeah. Okay.
That was in your pro.
Yeah, desiring something new, and that leads me into saying, like, talking about this whole subject of SLANNHAMMER, like, should they be banned? I really don't think so, because we're never going to get anywhere if we start removing things and if we start adding things. I'd much rather start introducing new alternative challenges that attract people than removing the existing ones, especially as we're not getting that many teams from Games Workshop at the moment. Just, it feels like it's if you want to become a Slan coach, you're often doing that because it's novel and you're craving that, and maybe you're coming at it from the attitude of, in my local area or on this certain league table, like, people aren't as highly ranked in Slan. I want to try and like make an entry for myself, which I know was a big challenge for like Greenskin Phil. He wanted to become like the top ranked Slan coach. It was like the thing that attracted it. It's just like, oh, this is actually quite an achievable goal. I'm going to set that as my goal. Like, if you're trying to do that with something like Skaven, it becomes really hard. But if you have Slan as the opportunity, it's just like, okay, maybe I can carve this as my niche. Maybe I can become that Slan coach that people fear.
Yeah, I get that.
My doorbell has just gone to interrupt this great discussion. I will be right back. Carry on.
I don't know, Trips. Maybe the question should be around. I think maybe we could take it in a different direction here, and like, there's obviously a benefit to running Slan. And I mean, have you ever run Slan? I know you've played against them.
I've played them on Fumble, but never played them physical, and played against them a few times.
Yeah.
And they are, as an opponent coach, they are the kind of team that 2 turns in, you're like, I need to play this team differently.
Yeah.
And then next time you don't, you start with, I need to play them differently.
Yeah.
But what about, I think, an open question to both of you. So you both talked about the barrier to entry and the challenge side of it. Does that barrier to entry and challenge, is that a potential problem for a coach to go, all right, I want to play a different team. I want to give this Slam team a go. So firstly, I've got to find a team and get a team. If you then don't like it, is that not a great way to go, that they've had to spend time finding a team, getting a team, trying a different team out, to instantly go, no, actually, I'm an orc coach. I don't want to do this leapy, jumpy thing. I just want to put block on everything.
I think there's an extra thing there, is what happens if and when Games Workshop reimagines Slan into something else. Like we saw Bretonian and we saw Demons of Khorne get George Lucas, and everything was replaced with radios, and now it's kind of like, oh, my team is different. That's a South Park reference. Like, there is, I think there is that definite thing of, like, if you want the tier 2 challenge, which is what Slan are, they're the ultimate tier 2 challenge, I would say, which is what makes them so interesting. But that also puts them right in the Slam of a potential reimagining, a proper retconning that could just change them all up. So yeah, I think there's definitely a risk of investing in a team that may not exist or may get like they're like, you're obviously worried about picking up a high elf team or a Tomb King team at the moment because you're like, oh no, am I going to get extra stuff? Am I going to lose a couple of Tomb Guardians? There's a risk there, but I think there's even more of a risk when you've got a team like Slan, potentially.
But is that a GW risk? Because from a GW point of view, Slan just don't exist in Blood Bowl.
But neither
I don't
do
think GW care.
And references in the rules.
well,
but
Slan were their roster was used for Cyanide's Blood Bowl 2, which in the same way as the Demons of Khorne were used in. Oh wait, hang on, were Bretonnians in Blood Bowl 2 as well?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, the
They
point is that Games Work, even if it's not an officially supported team from Games Workshop, it sits very much within their sphere, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are looking at that going like, huh, you know, even though they are the significantly least played team in tournaments, like by a great margin, they may be thinking, people enjoy that. There's clearly a reason people are playing this, so how about we bring that in? I mean, BT, you've said this about Slaanesh, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I'd rather see Slan reimagined as Slaanesh. For that, like, it's the reason you're saying about like fitting more into Warhammer, it just feels like better. But I think that's less necessary than just reintroducing them in their own way and keeping Slan as Slan. For me, that appeals more to the players collection perspective, especially as I'm like a painter. Like, it feels not great to have your models that you're attached to suddenly feel not okay. And I know there's nothing really stopping it. If, like, let's say they were Slaanesh and you just proxy them, like, I think that's absolutely fine. I don't think that's actually really going to be a problem.
That kind of happened to Underworld in the last edition, right? Because they changed it up, because you used to have you used to have 2 blitzers, 2 throwers, 2 runners.
Yeah,
or something
it's like half
that.
a scaling team, basically.
Yeah, and then it got changed to be 1 sprue. So you're right. Like, there are definitely people out there who are like, I've got these models now that I can proxy because it's Blood Bowl, and Blood Bowl players are very chill. And if Games Workshop did reimagine Slan as Slaanesh, they'd probably be an analog where you could just kind of grab a couple of models and change up your Slan team, add a couple of models, or change it to the bit. I think it does make it more vulnerable, which does make it more risky. So I'm gonna ask if we can move the question here to, should you allow Slan at your tournament? Because I think that's your league, your tournament and your league. Like,
do tournament or league, tournament and league, because I think it's important to pick up both aspects of the game.
I think I'd answer that just with why not? Because, like, if is the reason, like, I would want to know the reason why you wouldn't. Is it an accessibility thing? Is that from that point of view, like, the rules aren't available to everyone? In which case, I would make them available, just because it's kind of a community adopted team. Like, they are prevalent at pretty much every tournament you'll go to will allow Slan. Pretty much, I would say, as far as like 90% of tournaments would allow Slan. So it kind of seems like, why would you be the outlier?
Yeah, because they are in the NAF tournament.
And I think that's the angle here. Is if you're running a tournament and you don't know about the NAF, you're probably not having Slan in your tournament.
Probably, yeah.
But
you just don't. Yeah.
But I feel like that's like the first third of your Blood Bowl career, right? You go and you buy the Blood Bowl rulebook and the Blood Bowl teams, and you look around and get some third parties. Maybe you run an event, you don't really know about the NAF. A couple of local people come along, they tell you about the NAF. You then look up NAF tournament things to get your stuff and then you're presented with this Slan element of like, oh well, I'll just, probably no one's going to bring it anyway. But the people who are going to these events are kind of, I would say, historically seasoned enough to be able to deal with a brand new team, whereas I still think that's still pretty prevalent. Like, so I don't think it's really that big of an issue. So I think it is just more about the NAF, and this is I think a genuine thing is, should the NAF still be tracking Slan given that it's not an official team, versus why do they not allow or start including the tracking of other teams? Because you were bang on the money then when you were like, yeah, well, you know, this person wants to run Slan because no one else does, so it gives them the best chance to be the #1 ranked player for that team. Like, if that's a good thing, then surely the NAF allowing some of the other secret teams or some of the other community rosters like that would just be a really big boon for those NAF players.
Trust me, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I would love to see them to introduce new teams like that. I think it would be really healthy. I think there is a fear that you start adding in some stuff that gets imbalanced, but when has that ever been a problem in Blood Bowl? The community's great at balancing stuff. Yeah.
So, and also from a tournament or a league point of view, as you were showing there with Tourplay, Ben, they are in one of the most popular softwares to manage a tournament or league, so they are available to play without having to Google Sheet it in somehow.
Yeah, but I would also say that so is the old Amazon roster and the old Vampire roster, and that's not allowed by the NAF. And I
think that's more of a tournament admin point of view, though.
Yeah,
like I think
right.
that becomes challenging on the table even when you have to try and think, oh wait, are you using current rules or old rules with this exactly same aesthetic team? I think that becomes a problem.
I feel like this isn't loaded properly here. But yeah, they've got all the secret teams in there as well, haven't they? Which is very, very, very cool. Oh, look at all these teams. That's proper Blood Bowl right there.
Oh yeah.
Blood Bowl. Some of these are a bit questionable. Maybe that's the thing. Right. I think we can wrap it up and just have a bit of a general chat now, because I do love Slan. I think it's I would like to sum up by just sort of saying, if you like chocolate cake, you've got caramel chocolate cake, right? A little bit of salt makes it pop. Too much salt ruins it, and not having the salt makes it less good. Like, it just makes it less special. And I think Slan sit in that little nugget at the moment of Blood Bowl, where it's one team, and there's not a lot of players that actually run them, but it's that extra stretch goal. It's the smallest element that probably won't cause a problem. So I think it fits brilliantly in the realm of Blood Bowl, and I'm super pro it. I do find it odd that it's the only legacy team that's still sort of NAF tracked and NAF ranked, when we've got a whole bunch of other teams out there that are just like we kind of said, like more in line with Blood Bowl. But that is absolutely, and I unabashedly pro more teams in Blood Bowl. So I think that really just becomes kind of a NAF thing. And Lord knows that they've struggled with databases and changing anything ever before. So I think that's probably the biggest issue. I will say, however, like, Slan is a brilliant roster, but if there was something I would like to see made official, it would be something along the lines of mixed teams, because I think you add so much more depth to Blood Bowl without actually introducing anything that you can't read in a Games Workshop publication. And I think that is quite important these days. We're not Games Workshop stands, not by a long shot, but we are understanding that the majority of kind of like the route into Blood Bowl is through the Games Workshop lens. It doesn't last long. It doesn't last long. You fall down the rabbit hole, and before you know it, you've got 4 different Skaven teams, and you don't even have a Games Workshop legal one. Like, that's just a natural thing. So yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on my summary of Slan there?
I think it's spot on. I think you're right. I would. The only thing I would disagree with is the mixed teams. I think I'd rather see secret teams than mixed, personally, just because it's like, I like the novel attitude. I like something completely different, and mixed teams are completely different in a way, but it's the game feels different.
There's
and
a
the
power
puzzle
creep,
it is definitely a power creep. It becomes really strong. But
I think that's just the list builder in me. Is like, here we go.
You can break it. Yeah. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's more Blood Bowl is more better, and that's what we always say, right? And I don't have much more to add.
Oh, amazing. I'm still the 15th ranked Skaven coach in the UK.
On tour play.
Yeah, on tour play.
No one's playing the dirty ones.
Yeah, no one's playing them anymore. Clearly, I've not played them for a year. That's good.
The thing I'd add about Slan, listening to both sides, I think the aspect of it being new is quite important. I think the fact that they are a completely different team and challenge, having played against them a few times in detail, I think for an experienced Blood Bowl coach, playing with or playing against Slan opens up your eyes to more skills and more ways of playing in detail. So it's useful. I think BT, your point about secret teams first rather than mixed teams, Slan's almost the entrance point into what other teams are there out there in detail.
Yep.
I think mixed teams is you want to go down the line of mixed teams when you've got just about every option and detail there, and you want to go true on crazy.
I still think we should petition to have the Squig team added. I want to see the number one ranked Squig team, Squig coach, because that would just be, I reckon they would be a legend of a person.
And it does feel like the Slan team are the official, unofficial team because of historical reasons.
Yeah,
and
they're in because they were always in.
Yeah, and they're the last one that hasn't been tidied up. So all of the other ones have been tidied up into Teams of Legend or into updated versions of teams. They are because they are so weird, there is just not anything else that looks like them in any of the other teams.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That might be why.
That's why they're so fun.
Because they'll never get replaced.
Oh, yeah, potentially.
I think you actually raised the Trips' point there. I know we're wrapping up, but Trips' point of like it normalizes secret teams, it normalizes the game beyond the official game. I think that's a really important point. I actually think that's a really good point. Of like it's like opens people's eyes that there is stuff you can do that isn't necessarily by the book, and I do like that.
Well, I'm way on board with that.
And just a further question, just for interest. Do you think they should be in? We've touched on leagues and tournaments. What about variants of Blood Bowl? Should they be in all? Are they over and underpowered suitably in any variant or detail?
Like Dungeon Bowl.
They're good fun in Dungeon Bowl, right? I love that question of like, can my guy pogo stick round the corner? And I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, they did it in the X-Men movie, so yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, no, I think they're perfectly fine. And then, like Ben said at the beginning, they're not overpowered. They're a fun tier 2 challenge. They do what they do really well, but only when it works. And when it doesn't, they destroy themselves. So yeah, I like that.
And they're not fundamentally completely different to anything you could develop in a Blood Bowl team. They just have a set of skills and attributes that you can't really get easily.
They are pretty unique, to be fair. The catchers have a pretty unique set of stats and skills. It's hard to build a Slan catcher.
They do the set, but it's not like they've got a set of skills and go, I've never seen that skill on a player before. It's like, I haven't seen that combination of skills together before.
Well, that's all Blood Bowl is.
I think it's because the pogo stick's a trait, right? You can't pick pogo stick. So it's like you kind of have to have that from the beginning.
Yeah. Right, crew, we got to wrap up for the day. So yes, thank you very much for chatting Slan, guys. It's good fun to kind of think about these sorts of things. I love Slan, and if you haven't played them, give them a go. They're good fun. They're a good modelling opportunity, and like Tripp said, they are the first step down the door to secret team nonsense, which is never a bad thing.
I think if you've got someone in your local club who's got a Slan team and has played them, have a game against them, because it will be a true experience. You will find yourself going, oh, I thought the ball was reasonably safe there at some point.
That's always the good bit.
And that's what happens when you fall over.
Yeah. Right. Thanks very much for joining us. Do let us know your thoughts on Slan. We are pro Slan, but it's good to talk about. We're going to wrap up. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon with more Blubber content. Happy blocking.